Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart. Great conversation today. The conversations can all be all about the two weak links that almost all men have. So with that being said, if you are a man listening to this, literally a high five, and I salute you for even being willing to listen to this. I appreciate and I understand a lot of men are going to avoid it simply by the title, because that's what we do as men. We avoid the accountability often, especially when it comes to our health. So with that being said, if you are not a man listening to this and you are listening to this because you're curious and you're hoping that at one point your man, your friend, your son, your whoever, maybe your father is going to level up their health, go ahead and send them this episode. My 30 years of experience sitting in a front row seat has given me this opportunity to see very crystal clear the two weakest links that all men have. And again, if you're a man and you don't have these weak links, fantastic for you. Just keep leveling yourself up. But most likely one of these two, if not both of these, are one of your biggest challenges. And we'll go into why that is in just a moment here. Well, but I'll also say this. So, or let me, before we get any farther, if you have received this episode from someone that you know, and all of a sudden it shows up in your inbox or on your text feed or whatever it may be, and you're listening to this now, know that it has come from someone that cares and loves you, and they want you to help level up. There's an interesting thing about us men that for the most part, we have no accountability to anybody when it comes to our health. No one's going to hold us accountable for our weight. No one holds us accountable for our fitness, for our overall mental well-being. Nothing. We are kind of on this island. We put ourselves there. And sadly, even at this point, our doctors do not even hold us accountable. You can go to your doctor. You could be drinking a glass of wine every single night. You can have high blood pressure and they won't say a damn thing. It's a boohoo on both of you, right? Because the doctor no longer has the courage or the willingness to hold you accountable. And as a patient, most men aren't listening anyways. So they say, doc, just fix me with a pill, magic lotion or potion, and please make this go away. So if it sounds a little hard, this podcast, it is, because listen, you and I are in the same shoes when it comes to these topics. I have the same challenges and the same obstacles when it comes to living our best life. In order for us to be our best, we have to recognize what is our worst. So in order for us to be strong, we must know what makes us weak. So that's what's fun about this conversation right here, and have some fun with it. And that's really what I want you to take away with it. Recognize it. Make this a challenge. That's what we are really good at. So at the end, I'm going to challenge you to take two specific types of actions. So hear me out through the course of this. And again, if you're listening to this, keep doing the thing, keep sharing it out, keep spreading the love. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing out there. All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. So, and again, just to repeat here, one of the bigger challenges, that men have no accountability, not for their weight, not for their health, not for their fitness, not for any part of their physical capacity. And this puts them in a really sticky spot, because the challenge is men don't like to be uncomfortable. So they lean into what they're good at. And women, yes, I tell you, I'm going to do an entire episode on the weak links for women in just a moment here. Yet for men, sadly, again, our doctors, if you go in, you have high cholesterol, you're overweight, you have high blood pressure, no mention for the most part to lifestyle. Almost always, this is just going to be, take this medication, go home, see me in a year, see how this is working out. And unfortunately, too many people right now are accepting that as an answer. That is absolutely poor health advice, and it should be thrown away quickly. And you should lean into or find somebody that's going to help you level up and be the best version of yourself. So, literally for the last 30 years, I've had the opportunity to observe this from the front row. And often what happens is these symptoms that men are experiencing, gaining the weight, becoming a little less mobile, whatever it may be, high blood pressure. We take all of these for granted, and we just think that these are the things that happen with us when they age. And that's not true. That's another false belief that often we're just kind of told, oh, it happens with age. So why is it that it is so important that we tackle our weak links? Because there's some of the most fundamental things that we'll see out there right now, things like heart disease or type 2 diabetes or low testosterone. These are all areas that are going to fall into the two categories that I'm going to tell you in just a moment, the two weak links. They're very, very changeable, and they're very controllable if we're willing to step up to the plate. So let's dive right in. Weak link number one is food and alcohol. Most men are absolutely unwilling to change their consumption of their foods and their alcohol. How do I know this? And again, 30 years sitting in the front row, my friends, my family, my patients for all these years, that is one of the biggest things. I'll see women, women will be willing to change their the food and alcohol intake. There's different reasons and different motivators here, but men, for the most part, no, not happening because it's uncomfortable. And yes, we work hard, we grind it out all day long, and we're very challenged. At the end of the day, we'd like some comfort to come into our life. And often, unfortunately, that comfort is being achieved through food and alcohol. And unfortunately, what it means is bad food and alcohol. I will tell you this, not a single human being is better when they drink alcohol. So as you listen to these 2 week links, I want you to ask yourself, if I improve myself, could I be a better father? Could I be a better husband? Could I be a better businessman? Could I be a better brother, an employee, whatever it may be? If you had less toxins in your body, could you be a better version at doing all of those things? And the crystal clear answer is yes. But why do men have such a challenge with letting go of alcohol? Because it's comfortable for them. It's comfortable for them to take the edge off. It's comfortable for us to use alcohol to sedate ourselves, to feel different. That is why. And so what it really means, we have to address a little bit of what we're feeling. And there are ways, and I'm going to get to those in just a moment here. And it doesn't mean that we have to, and you can certainly seek out, some types of consultations where you're, talking things out with people. But I think there's a lot easier path right now. And I think there's a path here that it can going to make you feel better, but you have to give yourself the opportunity to do so. So, and again, with food, I see it all the time. We just get done running a large cleanse. And the majority of the people in are women. And most of the time it's because when the men are unwilling to change their diets, unwilling to give up the things that they like because it's uncomfortable. So even though we are tough and we're gritty and we grind things out, when it comes to these subtleties of things like food and alcohol, we are not. We're absolute wimps. We're little whining babies when it comes to changing up our diet to make ourselves better. So hear me when I say that. And then I'm going to give you an opportunity a little bit later what to do about this. All right. So that's number one. Our weak link is food and alcohol. Our foods and our alcohol most likely down-regulating us as human beings. If you're drinking alcohol, whether it be 2 glasses a week or 2 glasses a night, either way, they're dangerous. That's probably not the right way of saying it. They are detrimental to your overall health. They always down-regulate health. They always down-regulate the way that you function as a human being. They will never improve function of your body, of your physical or your physical or your spiritual well-being. All right, with that being said, and same thing with their food. If you're still eating all of the things, the sugar, the candy, the ice cream at night, all the breads and all the processed foods, and they're not good for you, but nobody holds you accountable. And that's part of the challenge. And again, I'll give you an opportunity to see what to do about all this in just a moment. Number two is this. Number two, and this is a little bit of a sidestep, but this is what I've observed over the last 30 years in a front row seat of one of the biggest challenges that men have, one of the biggest weak links, and it is our mobility. So when it comes to our physical fitness and our physical health, there's really 3 categories. How we move, our strength. With most men are okay in that category. And if you need some strength, work on that. But what I see most often, it's not the strength and it's not the endurance, but it literally is the mobility. And why is this such a big issue? And I promise this has never been addressed in your doctor's office. But as a chiropractor, I see how people move. And one of the bigger challenges, especially for men, is that over time, we just start to accept, and it's the strangest thing, this lesser body, this lesser version of ourselves, this version of ourselves that no longer can touch our toes, no longer can connect our hands behind our back, that no longer can move the way we used to move. We can't throw a football anymore. We just accept this. It's this weird thing, and we just blame it on age. And I believe the real reason behind the acceptance is, one, it's not being acknowledged. We're not looking at the data. Can I move my body? Literally mobility, flexibility. I have people say all the time to me, especially the guys, I've been tight all my life, which is a false statement. We're born like Gumby, really, and then we die with rigor mortis. So you're on that pendulum somewhere. The other part is the accountability. Again, nobody holds you accountability for your mobility, your ability to move in life. But I will tell you this. If you are losing range of motion, your ability to touch your toes, to connect your hands behind, to do a forward bend, to squat down into, and all the way into a deep squat. If you're losing these ranges of motion, you are losing days on the calendar, because in the inability to move your body and mobility, it's a direct reflection of longevity. And again, I'm sharing this with you because I see it as the weak link for men. All right, how does this show up in life? Let's tackle these two things. All right, number one, food and alcohol. I'm going to challenge you to go 30 days. 30 days, no alcohol and clean food only. If you want to join us in a couple months here, probably about March, yeah, just pay attention. We're going to do a level up challenge to include this. But even if you don't, I'll challenge you. So if you're hearing this, you're like, no, I have no issue with alcohol. I can put it down and pick it up whenever I choose. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna challenge you to do this for 30 days. Let go of all your alcohol, and for 30 days, eat only real food, no processed food, no packaged food, nothing with ingredients that have pesticides, herbicides. For 30 days, see what happens when you let yourself level up. And then in that experience, ask yourself, are you worse? Before you even answer if you're better, because a lot of times we won't answer that accurately because it allows us permission to go back to our bad habits. But first, just ask yourself, am I worse off if I let go of alcohol for 30 days and I only eat real food for 30 days? We both know the answer to that already. But this is the weak link with guys. Many guys won't do this. So in the event that someone has passed this podcast along to you, or you are hearing it on your own accord, challenge yourself. Here's what I'll also tell you. The likelihood of you doing this on your own is very minimal. You're probably going to need to be part of a program or have a coach during this, or an accountability partner. Why do I know that? Because I know that that's human nature, that we do so much better with accountability. So grab a partner, grab someone and say, hey, let's level up together. Let's become the best version of ourselves for the next 30 days. Let's address our weak links. Now let's talk about the mobility for a second. So first one, food and alcohol, 30 days. Prove me wrong, prove yourself wrong, prove whoever else you need wrong. Allow yourself to experience what would happen if you ate clean and you didn't use alcohol. You didn't use a poison, and that's what it is. It's a poison. Alcohol is poison. As long as we get that clear. See what happens. What happens when you remove those from your body and your daily lifestyle. See how much better your body functions. The second part is this. Listen, if you can't move it, you lose it. That is so true. Right now, what's the stats out here? 800,000 knee replacements a year, which is an absolute insane. It's almost laughable that 800,000 people are going to get a knee replacement this year. Another 500,000 people are going to get their hips replaced. And yet in my seat, I can almost predict it because I hear people say things like, well, my doctor said eventually I'm going to have a knee replacement. Eventually I'm going to have my hip replaced. And that should not be an acceptable answer to anything. When you think about how challenging, let's just say you're 60, you're 65, you're 55 years old, and you're getting a hip or knee replacement. And we know on average, those things last 10 to 15 years before you have to do them again. And now you're 75 and 80 and you have to go in for a hip replacement or a knee replacement. Think about the quality of life that you're going to have. And that is young folks, 75 and 80, with the knowledge we have now, with how to level up our bodies and how to maintain and move into this thing that we call longevity. Living to 90 and 100 years old should be the new standard, especially with the information and the tools that we have available. All right, so what do we do about mobility? It's real simple. I would tell every guy listening to this, get involved with yoga. I learned the hard way. I had enough injuries, enough breakdowns in my body because I was becoming so stiff and rigid. And I'll tell you this, here's the thing about guys, rigid mind, rigid body. It's kind of laughable and it's absolutely true. Those of us that have these really narrow parameters and the things we will or will not do, rigid mind, rigid body. So if you're open to things and you're a little bit more flexible to some new ideas and new concepts, the ones we're talking about here today, getting clean for 30 days, dropping the alcohol for 30 days, get some yoga. Imagine if you did all three of these in 1 month. The version of you on the other side of that would be a completely different man. So I'm encouraging you to do that, because when I see that happen, I see people start to explore territories and opportunities that they never thought were possible as they age, to start to feel better, have more energy, their testosterone goes up, their blood pressure drops down, and all of the other things that we have that are challenging us as we age, they all of a sudden start to reverse. So the 2 weak links for men, what are they? Food and alcohol, number one. Number two is our mobility, really how tight our physical bodies are. So if we tackle those, give yourself 30 days, no alcohol, no bad food. Just keep it clean for 30 days. And then for 30 days, let yourself get involved with some yoga. My prayer is that you bring it, make it part of your life for the rest of your life. If you don't move it, you'll lose it. All right. Well, hopefully that has in some way, shape, or form got into your mind a little bit to wake you up a little bit and say, man, maybe I have some weak links. Remember, to be our best, we have to know what makes us at our worst, and also to be strong, we have to know what makes us weak. So with that being said, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to another episode here. I look forward to having the next episode. And women, know that I'm going to also do the 2 week links for women as well. All right. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.